Okay, so now what I want to show you is this command injection project right here. And this one is a lot of fun. There's 3 stages of it: easy, harder, and pretty hard. And that's why it's 20 points and there's 40 points extra. So the first part is all you have to do. The required part is 20 points. And this is the simplest command injection that you'll see in a lot of browser configuration pages. So there's going to be a way to test your IP address by putting an IP, or test your internet connection by putting an IP address here and then sending pings. So if you do that, it sends some pings. And if you know your Linux command line, you can recognize this is just the response to the standard ping command. So what it did was this PHP code. It took the information that you put in this box and put it in this variable called AC. And then it just puts ping minus C2 space and adds that and runs that as a system command. This is how you get command injection vulnerabilities. You use one language like PHP to build a line of code in another language like Bash and then execute it. And the problem is Bash allows you to put 2 commands on a line if you separate them by a semicolon. So if I put a semicolon, ls here, then it will send the pings and then do an ls and show me a list of files on the server. So this is called command injection. I was only supposed to get data from the user to do one contained process, like test the internet connection. But because of sloppily written code, the user can add bash commands right here and execute code on the server. Now, you probably don't have administrator privileges. Let's try who am I? And see who I am. And I am www.data. I am the Apache user, which is not root. It's not all powerful, but it is powerful enough to do a lot of things like deface the web page and read files that are accessible to the Apache process. So you can find flags on the server. And so there are challenges here. There's 4 flags on that server. They are more and more difficult to find, and you should try and find them. And all right. And then, so that's the simplest command injection vulnerability available. And image magic is the next one, which is still pretty simple. And this is a real vulnerability that affected a whole bunch of Linux servers a few years back. So the way it works, you can take an image and upload it to the server. So let me find an image. Let's just go on my page. All right, there's an image. Right click, save image as. Desktop, CPTC, that'll work. Okay, it just has to not have spaces in the file name. So you can upload, I just copied standard bulletin board system code to upload and thumbnail an image. So I choose the file, which was this thing. And then I upload it. And so here it shows you the command. This is using the image magic library. And it shows you the command, convert thumbnail of this file and make it smaller, 300 by 300, and put it in that file. So there's the thumbnail image, and then there'll be a full-size image somewhere on the server. So this is normal image manipulation that you do on everything that has a profile page. And the point is this one has a security flaw. If you make a file containing this content, a plain text file, let me bring it up here where you can see it. Okay, here's a text editor. I put in that stuff, whoops. Didn't copy this. All right. There. So I take that content and put it in a file, and then I save it with a name that makes it look like an image. So I'll put it on my desktop and call it ex.ping. All right. Now, when I upload that, choose file, ex.ping, upload, I get the word hello and the date and time. Now, the reason I do is because it hasn't, the people that wrote this image magic library added some strange features where you can include not just an image, you can include text in the image file. to change the image. So it can have some filling some area with a solid color. And for some reason, they decided it's not enough to just have a fill command. It has to have the ability to load the color from some website. I don't know why you need this, but they filled it with a URL from here. And when they implemented that, they implemented it the same way I implemented ping up above. They used curl followed by this data, which came from the user. And it had the same kind of flaw where if you add a couple of punctuation marks, you can then just put a bash command right here. So here's echo hello and date. These commands just get executed on the server when it's processing this image file. So you have the ability to inject commands on this server. And again, that shows you can get it to print hello and you can get it to print the date. So now you can do an ls and you can do a cat and you can do a find and other Linux commands, and you can find a couple more flags on the server. And the way I wrote this, you need a total of 20 points, and the easiest stuff to do is find the first 2 flags in this challenge and the first 1 flag in this challenge, because the first flag is pretty easy and the other flags are harder to find. Anyway, but you do as much of this as you like. And the third one is even more fun. This was one of the Drupal command vulnerabilities. Drupal is a competitor for WordPress. It's an open source content management system, and it has had a whole series of disastrous security flaws. Drupal-geddon and Drupal-geddon 2 and Drupal-geddon 3. I think this one is Drupal-geddon 2. It's one of them. Each one of them was enormously bad, giving you command injection or some other serious ability to manipulate the server. So I made a page. This is just running an old version of Drupal. And when I put it up, it would keep getting automatically hacked and trashed by automated processes. So I put it behind a basic authentication. And I've already been passed it on this browser, but it will pop up a box asking you for username and password. And it's just a username of student 1 and a password of student 1. It's not a very secure password, but that's enough to stop the automated attacks. So this server is not down all the time. That said, when students start doing this homework assignment, they tend to crash the server. So I have to restore it periodically. So if you perform the attack and it fails, let me know and I'll restore the server from backup. I did it right before lecture tonight. So this one, there is a Python script you have to run to execute commands on the server. And there's a couple, you need a Linux server. And I use Debian. These commands put on Python 2, which is what the script is written in, and install the requests library. And so if you have a Linux server, you can do this one. If you don't have a Linux server, you can skip this one or set one up. So somebody was asking me earlier in the class, do you need a Linux server? And I said, well, you don't really need it, but there are a few projects where it could be used optionally. And this is one of them. So the script is here. Drew. And the script, it's somewhere in the registering a new user, something with the email, somewhere in the form there. And so it's going to do a post to try to register a new user and put in the basic authentication credentials. And somewhere in this mess is a mistake which let it inject code. So what this proof of concept exploit does is it echoes a smiley face, semicolon dash parentheses, and it puts it in a file called yourname.txt. And you have to change that file name because you can only write to a file once. You can't overwrite it. So you'll need a name nobody else has used. So my original code used your name. It's in here 3 places. I'm going to change it to your name 91, just so it's something that hopefully nobody has used yet. 91. And actually, just to make it more clear, I'm going to change what it puts in there so I can tell that it's really working. I'm going to go up here and put in from Sam there. So it should put that text in a file named your name 91. Let's see if it works. Okay, so it will have put it in that file, your name 91.txt. And so if I open that in the browser, oops, there. Yep, there it is, smiley face from Sam. So I can now execute Linux commands on the server by putting them in that script. So if I bring that script back there. So here is the echo command. and then it pipes to T because you can't use a greater than sign. It filters certain characters. So you can put other commands in here in addition to this command or instead of this command, and you can use it to, again, find flags on the server. So those are examples of command injection. It's a fairly common vulnerability, not the most common, but it's the easiest to exploit. You just get to execute commands on the server the same way the administrator would. And so all you need to do is know some basic Linux commands, which is why I had a couple of projects, a project here on Linux Journey where you get to practice with a few simple Linux commands to learn them. All right, and that's what I wanted to show you. I'll stop recording.